flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one
one
nation,
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we'll have a moment of silence for all of those serving here and abroad to return home safely to their families. And a roll call. Mr. Bierman?
Here.
Mr. Camerata?
Here.
Ms. Grover?
Here.
Ms. Hockman?
Here.
And Mr. Carley?
Here.
Thank you, Mayor. Next on the agenda, we have the open public meeting statement. I'll read that aloud. In compliance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, notice of this meeting was given by way of annual notice filed with the Township Clerk, the North-South Brunswick Sentinel, the Home News Tribune, and the Trenton Times, and posted on the bulletin board in the South Brunswick Township Municipal Complex on January 24th, 2024.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to open to the public?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak? Seeing none,
Hearing
is-
nothing from the public, I'll make a motion to close the Board of Health public session.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Chair, next on the agenda, we have the minutes of the regular Board of Health meeting of Wednesday, July 17th, 2024. All were present. Is there a motion to accept those minutes?
Motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
And a roll call. Mr. Bierman?
Yes.
Mr. Camerata?
Yes.
Ms. Grover?
Yes.
Ms. Hockman?
Yes.
And Mr. Carley?
Yes.
Thank you. Madam Chair, next on the agenda, we have the health activities reports.
Okay, I think everyone here has received the health activities report. Are there any questions or comments?
Nope. None from myself.
And I see there's nothing on the agenda for old business.
No, other than all of the workshops that we've started did great. Everybody had wonderful remarks about them, and we will be coming out with more workshops.
And I was a little bit slow to the draw when you asked if we had any questions or comments. The health department with the American Legion on Major Road, that's not me. With the American Legion on Major Road is doing a series of CPR classes. And that's ongoing on weekends through October. So I encourage people, if they want to brush up on their CPR skills, to avail themselves of that free service. I think they're holding 3 classes per
Yes.
Saturday
Yes.
throughout October. So
And-
that's a great public service.
Yes, I'm sorry, I've been saying that so often, also, they're not for certification, but they are for your own knowledge and your ability to give CPR to somebody else. But you're not getting certified because that's too long.
That's the job of the American Red Cross.
Yes, thank you. That's it for the business.
No, nothing on for discussion, so at this time, we can adjourn this meeting, go right into the regular meeting.
Yes.
I'll make a joint motion to adjourn this meeting, go right into the regular meeting.
I'll
A second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. At this point, Mayor, if you want to take the chair.
Don't take it too
Thank you
far.
so much.
That was expeditious and nutritious. Josephine, I don't want my wife to think I'm stepping out on her.
Oh, okay, thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk, as ever,
Thank you, Mayor.
the wheel.
We'll move on then. We've already had the pledge, moment of silence, roll call, and the open public meeting statement was the same one. At this point, we have another address from the floor, and this is for the regular meeting. Is there a motion to open to the public?
Let's do it.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak? Please step up and state your name for the record.
My name is Judy
You can move that chair,
Ooh.
please. Someone, yeah. Need help up. Let me get that out of the way.
My name is Judy Mallon. I'm a resident of the Villaggio community and a board member of the Villaggio HOA of South Brunswick. I'm here along with Deepa Kulkarni, Vinod Shah, Gary Shah, and other residents of our community. Would you like me to proceed?
Yeah.
All present and accounted for.
Okay. We are here because our community wants to express our ongoing concerns at the township's failure to address in a timely manner an appalling safety concern, much less even respond to our attorney's continued attempt to remedy our situation. We presented this problem to you at a council meeting almost a year ago, November of 2023. And at that time, we were told that our tennis court problem would be remedied by the spring of 2024 or at the latest summer of 2024. This morning, Mayor Carley sent an email to our community manager stating that he anticipates that the courts will be repaired next spring. We have already been waiting for over a year. We need more assurance than an anticipation that our courts would be repaired. Construction of these tennis courts significantly deviate from the original developers' plans that were submitted to the township years ago. The original plans called for an asphalt paved court. Instead, indoor tiles were used on the surface. These tiles became disrupted, and as a result, it was dangerous to use the courts, and we had to close these courts over a year and a half ago. The current condition of the courts, one of our primary amenities in our community, is dangerous and unsafe to use, according to an analysis from your engineer who looked at them. As a result, as I said, they've been closed for more than a year and a half. Lennar, our builder, has performance and amenities bonds for phase 5, and we ask that they not be released until the courts are remediated. In summary, we ask the township address the above situation and give us a definite date for remediation. Now, you told us over a year ago that this would be dealt with. Right now, when can we expect the next follow-up? What are the plans? What is the progress? Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Ms. Mallon, our interaction, municipal government's interaction with repairs in the private community, right? Those tennis courts aren't open to the general public. We've acted in good faith, and we're working through the bonding company for Lennar. Lennar doesn't appear to have interest in fixing the tennis courts. But we have a duty to other taxpayers in the town. So we're looking to attach monies to repair the courts. Now, we expect to get the courts repaired, but we don't want to jeopardize the ability to recoup those monies for what will essentially be private tennis courts. And so we've been moving in I believe, a prudent fashion. Right now, we have not released any bonds to Lennar, so we're still back and forth with Lennar's bonding company. All that being said, I anticipate that despite all of that, the municipality will move forward like we have with the drainage projects in that community, which are life and health issues. Tennis is an amenity, which is great, and you're entitled to it. That's what you paid Lennar for. And so we're the guarantor of our residents. We're not the guarantor of Lennar, which is a private, publicly traded company. You can go on to the New York Stock Exchange and buy their stocks. That's their business model. It has nothing to do with any of us. And so we anticipate having repairs done. As I also expressed to you earlier, you have a decision to make relative to what you want out there, because as I understand it, tennis is on the wane, pickleball's on the rise, et cetera, and we'll look to accommodate you. We don't want any of our our taxpayers, our customers, to be unhappy. So, Mr. Womack can give you a greater detail from the legal perspective. He's the lawyer, I'm the engineer. I don't know anything about the law.
Lennar has come forward with a plan that you may or may not find acceptable. They need to present that with your attorney and sit down. We're happy to participate in that, although it's really between Lennar and your attorney and you, whether you think what they're going to present to you is acceptable for repair of the courts. But they have come forward. They seem to be making a good faith effort. It was perhaps 3 weeks ago that they came forward with that. Doesn't mean that their bond's going to be released, because certainly the mayor and the council have expressed that that's not happening until the things are actually done. But they have come forward. It's a better plan than I had thought they might come up with, and I'm hoping that that at some point it may, or some parts of it may be acceptable, and they can get moving on it.
And as a matter of standard operating procedures, although it's extra legal, before the five of us vote in the affirmative to release or reduce a bond, we rely upon the condominium association to give us the green light. And so in terms of the bonds that Lennar has posted, we won't release them unless the condominium association, which I am sure that the homeowners have a majority on, vote to tell us to issue a letter saying that they are okay with us releasing the bond. And that's been our past practice, and I expect that to be our future practice. We're not in the business of alienating private community residents.
Mr. Womack, I have a question for you. This plan that Lennar has is a great secret to us. When will we be able to see it, and when will we be able to respond?
I don't know. What they need to speak with your attorney. I mean, the town is not directly involved in that, and so they need to meet with your attorney, determine whether your attorney thinks that it's worth presenting to you. If they do, then that'll be on your schedule and their schedule. I'll do anything I can to help move that along, and we have facilitated in the past we held a meeting with them together. We'd be glad to do that again to try to get things moving. If we can involve our engineering staff to lend a hand and try to point out what really should be done to make it all appropriate. If Pat thinks that what they're showing is not up to standard, we'll be glad to do that as well.
Okay. You said that this plan was discussed and submitted 3 weeks ago.
No, ma'am, I misspoke if that's what I said. Their attorney contacted us. to indicate that they have a plan. He described it to us. I recommended that he contact your attorney, go ahead and present that. I've not seen it, but I hope that they're following through with that.
Well, we've been hoping for a year and a half. We would like to expedite the process.
Yes,
at
ma'am.
this-
Lennar's position, of course, is that they have no legal obligation to do this, and so I was greatly encouraged that they have at least relented on that to the extent that they're coming forward with a substantial plan.
Okay, you think you've heard about the plan?
He described it to me, yes, ma'am.
Is there any way you could describe it to the homeowners association at this point?
Well, tonight
I think
prob-
that you're paying your attorney, and so maybe ought your attorney describe it to the homeowners association since you're paying him.
Okay.
And I'll be honest, he did describe it to me, but my knowledge of building and construction is, it's like you were saying, you need to see the plan, needs to lay it out, and not just hear it. He told me he had it. It sounded substantial and sincere when he told me, but I have not seen it, so I can't tell you whether it's adequate.
It's fair to say, you don't want to hear it secondhand. Mac's great, our attorney, but sometimes he forgets things.
Oh, well, and when he gets to
But in all
construction, I
seriousness,
don't understand.
you want to hear it
things either.
firsthand from your attorney.
Okay. I'd just like to ask if there are any other members of our community that would like to address this situation. This is Deepa Kulkarni. She is our president.
Thank you so much for the opportunity that we got to meet you today, and we feel assured with your greatness that will be taken care of in this matter. This is a 55-plus community, and the tennis courts is one of the most important amenities that we all depend on. My community folks here today, there are about 20-25 residents here from Villaggio who are really concerned and want to have some answer to it, and Township holds some responsibility as to where we are going with this. Just depriving us, is that what Lennar can get away with? And if so, what is the Township's power at this point to force Lennar to deliver us this amenity?
The township's power is we have a performance guarantee that we hold. And we have moved against a performance guarantee for the drainage improvements that have been conducted over the last 2 years.
Okay.
Now we have the tennis courts in front of us, okay? And so Lennar appears to be working with your attorney, and having dialogue with your attorney relative to repairs or improvements to the tennis court. So, not to be a scold, but you may talk to your attorney and say, what are the contents of your discussions with Lennar? And then you'll have a better picture of the conversation between Villaggio Homeowners Association and Lennar. Now, as I said before, the municipality, we don't want you to be unhappy. We're the guarantor in the background, just like we did with the drainage situation. Lennar is out of the project, and it's a publicly traded corporation. And I suspect, I don't know, that Mr. Lennar doesn't have much motivation to do much out there except for that performance guarantee that's still outstanding. And so, as taxpayers in South Brunswick, you have paid into South Brunswick, and so that's our job to make sure that you have the satisfaction of having a tennis court or a pickleball court. That's a you decision. And so, after the conversation between your attorney and Lennar is resolved, if it doesn't come out to your satisfaction, that's where the municipality comes in.
Okay.
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, say I take up tennis late in life I don't expect to.
I'm sorry.
Can I just hop over there and swat a ball? No. I don't live in Bellagio. So we're waiting for the private dispute to resolve itself. In absence of a satisfactory resolution, the municipality will step in
Okay.
and give you that amenity that you've invested in.
Yeah.
And I think that's basic fairness. And that's all. So talk to your attorney.
Sure. So can I ask Mr. Womack? Mr. Womack, are you in connection, in contact with the Lennar's attorney by any chance?
The last time I spoke with him was at least two weeks ago. So I don't speak with him every day, but
Of course.
we do have a dialogue.
Of course. So the reason I'm asking you is because if you're talking about 2 to 3 weeks back, and still today, Pat McGlone, our attorney, she said that she doesn't have any news. That means the attorney did not reach out to her. Otherwise, that would be the first thing she'll do is she'll contact us and let us know this is the offer on the table, and then we can take it forward. That's the reason I'm asking you. So apparently, Lennar doesn't seem to be prepared yet if the attorney has not reached out to us, is my understanding.
I will be glad to facilitate a meeting and invite both of them to come here to the
Okay.
township and make him put it on the table for her.
Okay. All righty. That's the only question I have. I'm hoping, something positive comes out of this before we have to use our performance bonds. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here. Anybody else from Bellagio has any questions? You can feel free to please come forward. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Seth Mallon. I'm a resident of Bellagio and a possible would-be tennis player. The conversation I'm hearing now, as I'm listening to everybody speak, it seems to me that this conversation could go back in time a year and a half. This seems to me to be what the initial conversation might have been in terms of remediating the courts. It's on the record that there were 18 calls from our attorney to Lennar's attorney over the past year and a half. I just wonder at what point arbitrarily should our attorney say to us, well, I've called 4 or 5 times and I'm getting nowhere. And the way I'm hearing what's going on today is, well, there's been some communication, but I don't see any commitment whatsoever in terms of what the next step would be. And I'm hopeful that the conversations that are about to come will provide the community with the next step.
The part that, if I may, Mayor, the part that we haven't talked in detail here tonight is that Lennar has asserted a legal defense that they don't have an obligation to do this. And that has been a good part of many of the conversations that have gone back and forth that I've been aware of. And that's why I think that the fact that recently they've said, okay, we'll repair the courts, or here's an offer to repair the courts, is a big positive step for them.
Well, let's not get lost in the weeds. I know very little Latin, facta non verba, actions not words. I think we should commit the voting members of this body to making sure your tennis courts are repaired, and then we'll commission Mr. Womack to chase after the money subsequently. Because Lennar is obfuscating. And it's a dodge. It appears to me, on the information I've gotten over the last 15 minutes, that there's lawyerly dodges. 15 phone calls to Lennar, this, that, the other thing. And if you put a .25 on your timesheet, that's good for you, but you don't get it done. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, colleagues, we'll commit the funding, the repair, and then we'll chase after Lennar for the money, or Lennar's bonding company subsequently. So you can have the tennis courts rather sooner than later, and we don't have to, Mr. Womack has to put up with lawyerly dodges, but you all don't, and we all don't.
Well, that's emotionally reassuring, but we'd like to see either asphalt or some type of surface on the court that makes them usable.
Okay.
And if Lennar has been so obstinate, I assume they've been obstinate for a year and a half. Is that correct?
Again, the parties, the town's a third party in this, but to the extent that they've not come forward and repaired the courts.
Actually, Mr. Mallon, the first time I believe I met with you and members of the community was before COVID, and that was when we were talking about the side yard drainage. The town put that under its wing, and I think we're well on our way to resolving that. And I think the tennis court is something we do in a like fashion. We can fund it on the front end and recoup the money on the back end. And that way, with the time we have on this earth, we can enjoy it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Come on up and state your name for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is John O'Sullivan, live in Monmouth Junction. The reason I'm here is to ask the mayor and council about what I saw in the paper, or about the introduction for the first reading on the proposed 1,500 low-income housing units to be moved.
Yes. Do you have a specific
Yeah,
question?
well, I was looking at his face, and it was like,
I didn't hear a question yet, so I'm like,
oh, okay. You will hear the question
Thank
now.
you. Okay.
Okay, you hear me?
I can-
Thank you. Okay, I will be asking that the mayor and council publicly discuss with the public how they came to this decision and what information they used and how they came up with this decision to move forward in the courts. And the second one, there has been stories published in the paper about other towns fighting, what we're fighting. What happens if those towns win? Then can South Brunswick go to court and fight to get our ruling, which will be against us, overturned? Thank you.
I'll leave the meat of the response to Mr. Womack. But this is an issue that goes back to 2009, and the courts, through its rulings on Mount Laurel back in the 70s and subsequently, have determined that the provision of affordable housing, as defined by the Fair Share Housing Group, is mandatory. And once upon a time in South Brunswick, we had an obligation for 9,000 units. And as time has gone on, I look at this settlement, which encompasses, and Mr. Womack, correct me if I'm wrong, round 3 and round 4.
Yes, sir.
Which goes back from 2009 and will go forward to 2035. It reduces the obligation from 9,000 units to 1,500 units. Now, 1,500 units is not inconsequential. It's about the size of Southridge. And as I said to Mr. Havardansky at the last meeting, if I was given my choice in a perfect Charlie world, there is no perfect Charlie world. There's no perfect Ann world or Joe world or Ken world or well, maybe a perfect Josephine world. But in a perfect world, there would be no compromise. But we live in a nation of laws, and we are expected to be adults. And so Fair Share Housing Group came to us with a compromise which is, in my opinion, very beneficial to the town comparatively, from 9,000 to 1,500. That's a win. And so I'll leave the rest of it to Mr. Womack.
Yes, sir. I'd be glad to go over with you in detail anytime if you'd like to come in and go over the specifics, sir. But it is, I believe, a tremendous victory for the township. South Brunswick is the only town in the entire state that fought the entire third-round obligation that we had, because such an onerous obligation was placed upon us by the judge who had been assigned our case in Middlesex County. South Brunswick did not accept that and fought it, and as a result, about 9 different builders sued us to try to force us to have more homes than we felt we should. We took it all the way to the New Jersey Supreme Court, where we achieved a partial victory that, in my opinion, spooked developers and the scared developers and the Fair Share Housing Corporation, and gave us an opportunity to settle the case. And fortuitously, that Supreme Court decision came within months of the time that the new 4th round was being imposed upon townships, which is a whole new set of affordable housing homes. And as a result of South Brunswick holding steadfast for all the years since 2009, and since this particular suit began in 2016, we were able to settle both the 3rd and 4th rounds for what we believe would have been our 3rd round obligation alone. And I think it's a tremendous victory for the township. Other towns are going to try to fight their own obligation, and where those will lead, I don't know. But no other town has gotten a victory that went to the Supreme Court like ours has.
Right. If I could add to that, Mr. Womack, no one joined us, Mr. O'Sullivan, when we started the suit against affordable housing in 2016. And we hired lots of attorneys, and we went out looking for people other towns to join this fight, because there were onerous numbers put on numerous towns across the state of New Jersey. Now all of a sudden everybody's looking for us to join them because we had a victory here, and we did. We held out literally for 8 years, all right, for this settlement. And I also agree, as the mayor spoke and the township attorney spoke, this settlement will be less roofs built in South Brunswick than the original round 3 numbers that we had. So I think, and I'm speaking for myself, not the body, they can speak for themselves, but this is a victory, and we should all just take it and say, all right, now we know what we have to build in the next 10 years.
Next.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Come on up and state your name for the record, please.
Mike Haverdansky, Kingston area. So, we did talk about that at the last meeting, and it would be great to see where that plan is, because I agree that, maybe 1,500 units is good, but depends on where you put them, right, as to whether it's a victory or it's not.
And Mr. Womack invited Mr. O'Sullivan, and I'm sure he'll invite you to look at the settlement agreement.
Yeah, that'd be great. But my real questions are about the budget, right? So, first, I asked, the timing just feels terrible, right? I mean, this got proposed a month ago.
Mayor,
I didn't even find it.
There is a public hearing for the budget coming up.
This isn't, I thought that was first on the agenda, that's
right. We're still in the regular public hearing.
All right, sorry. I'll
It would
wait
be
for that.
appropriate to open that in a
We didn't
moment.
know either.
That's perfectly fine.
Thanks,
Listen,
Barbara.
I thought that was first on the list.
When Ms. Naitri throws her cudgel, we all...
Thank you, Barbara.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak during the general address from the floor public hearing?
Seeing none, hearing none, motion to close the public session.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Mayor, and at this time, we are moving on to the budget matters, and the first item here is the public hearing on the introduced 2024 budget. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion to open up for Mike.
Second.
All in favor?
Second. Yep.
Any
Aye.
opposed? That motion carries. Mr. Habermansky, please come on up.
We want you to get some more exercise, Mike.
And just wait it. All right, so back to what I was saying. Like, I don't know. I mean, I think we really there should be more timing. Like, I think when I was checking periodically as to whether it was out there on the website to find. I didn't find it till last week. It may have been out there sooner, but I didn't find it till last week. And so, it's difficult to go through all that and get all the, potential questions or things that people might want. So it would be great if going forward this could be done sooner. But I have
I
four.
will say that, and that's a valid observation, but as Ms. Rampacek aver and Mr. Bidlack will aver, and I can aver, we get wrangled in with the Department of Community Affairs, and everything we do has to have the state agencies imprimatur. And I think we had a hearing last week at which, we basically, they go through the budget and we wear our ash cloth and et cetera, et cetera. And so we're not independent of the larger world. Part of it has to do with what used to be called utility revenues. Public Service Electric and Gas is a private company. They occupy the right-of-way. We used to tax them because of property taxes, all the substations, et cetera, but the state changed that formula 40 years ago. Now they call it state aid. That's a euphemism. It's what we had coming anyway. And so we have to wait for them to set a state aid number to cast our budget, because that becomes part of anticipated revenue, et cetera, et cetera. And so we had our hearing last week, and I think it went well. Correct me if I'm wrong,
No,
Ms.
it
Rampacek.
did, and the budget was posted online right after our last council meeting where the budget was introduced, and it was also sent to the state, so it goes on our website and also goes on the state website in the FAST system.
I mean, it wasn't right after, I can tell you, because I looked. Because I was at the last meeting, and Mayor, you
I
actually
flopped the
gave me
spending plan on you.
You
Yeah.
gave me the hard copy, and I kept looking for it. Regardless, and I did. I talked to the Department of Community Affairs, and they kind of were laying the blame on you guys for not having financials timely. That was their situation, or that's what they said when I called and asked. But so, regardless, here or there, so last year I see that there was a revenue shortfall, and I guess in my world. That's just lost equity, but I don't know about government. How does that get treated? Does that get rolled forward, or is that just like it would be in corporate world, a net loss for the year?
I think, and I'm going to rely on Ms. Rampacek to correct me when I'm wrong, not if I'm wrong. I will be wrong. The budget last year predicted revenues, particularly from water and sewer connections and construction fees at a particular level. Midway through the year, DEP put a moratorium on new construction, new connections in South Brunswick because of well capacity. And we built a new well. And so there is that shortfall. It's characterized as overspending. It's not overspending. The spending plan was approved by DCA, and it was adhered to. Ms. Naitri didn't go on a bender and buy $1.something million in paper clips.
Yeah, and my question was really, how is that accounted for? Does that have to roll over?
It rolls into this year's budget.
So
and you
does
see
come
that with the spending plan, there is an allotment, a set aside for some portion of that. Some of that was taken care of by the anticipated surplus last year. Some of it is in
just wanted to
the spending plan this year.
Yeah,
so that way we zero out. We're not allowed to be deficit spenders.
No, I know
We're not the
that,
feds.
and that's how in my world, in the corporate world, it's just,
And Mayor, if I may, Mike, the other thing is we're not allowed to project revenue. It can't be any more than what the revenue was generated for this year, for next year, in any department.
Okay.
So we're fixed on that. We can't do any
Okay.
projections. It has to be empirical data.
So the next one, like, once again, it's hard to get detail out of the budget, right? It's a lot of salaries and other, salaries and other, salaries and other. And so I see a 15% increase in that salaries offset kind of by a 13% decrease in what would, I guess, be operations. So since there's not a lot of detail, the 15% increase, is that, head count, or is that, and then the decrease, what's being cut? What plans, programs, what's being cut?
I'll rely on Mr. Bidlack to answer that.
I'll ask Samantha to explain that in a little bit more detail than I can provide, but if you could just briefly, Samantha.
Sure. So the increase is mainly contractual. We have our union contracts for most employees here, and we have to abide by those each year. So a lot of that was contractual raises. I don't believe we had headcount increases. If anything, we've had, some decreases, but most of that's just contractual. As for the decrease in operations, we tried to look at what departments spent last year, and we're being very diligent this year with controlling spending. We're trying to really be careful, knowing, how our budget looks and just how we have to be to generate more revenue and decrease the spending. So most of what those decreases you saw are us just looking at what departments spent last year and seeing if we could lower their budgets. So a couple departments did see decreases in their operating budgets. There's no planned cuts to any programs or anything like that. It's just really looking at each department individually, seeing how their spending was last year and putting that in this year's budget, which allowed us to come down a little bit.
Okay. And then last, I think you mentioned this a minute ago, but the $6.5 million transitional state aid, I went back to a few budgets, and the most I could find was $972. So on that line item in terms of the revenue. So curious as to what that is and what it's used for. Are there restrictions? I think I sent you an email earlier, so you should be ready for that.
Do you want me to take that? Okay, so the transitional aid program is run through the state of New Jersey, and it's really meant for towns that had extraordinary circumstances that we need help, basically. And as the mayor had stated about that water moratorium, that really hurt us. It not only affected the amount we collected in water connection fees, but also in permit fees. So one was 1.8 million and one was 1.3 million that we were shortfall last year. So now we had to start off this year. We can only anticipate that lower revenue amount, and then our spending was higher. So the transitional aid, towns have to apply for. It's a very extensive application. I believe it's about 18 pages. We had to go before the state, and basically what they're doing is helping us overcome that. It's meant for really one-time disastrous, things that hurt our budget and that aren't anticipated. So we were awarded $6.5 million to help with that, and to offset our budget.
So that's because, like, if I looked at the under revenue, reduced revenue, decreased revenue, was the difference was 1.1 million last year, so 6.5. And I guess my concern is, you've made your budget this year with 6.5 from the state. What happens next year?
Right, so on top of the deficit in revenues, we also had some affordable housing litigation. There were a couple things that added up, and so the state, instead of us struggling the next couple of years to make up this deficit, they awarded us one-time relief to get us basically back to square one, so that starting for, going forward, we don't have to worry about trying to pay these back deficits and making them up in our budgets for years to come. This is a gift that they pretty much started us back at.
I wouldn't call it a gift, but it is a grant. Ultimately, we all pay taxes to the state, and fortuitously, this is coming back to South Brunswick as property tax relief.
Mm-hmm.
I guess
so. It's a one-time thing, but if you do the math and you see, as to speak to Ms. Rampachak's and Mr. Camerata's points, we did have the shortfall because of the revenue we anticipated wasn't there because of the water moratorium. But then in the 2024 budget year, we couldn't project higher than what we received in 2023, which is artificially low. So we will end up probably with a surplus
Yes.
going forward. It's just the art of municipal budgeting.
Right, I mean, I do
Well, you're an
for a
accountant
living.
by
Well, corporate,
trade.
right, I took that
Yeah.
class in 1987, so, So what you're saying then is in the $73 million revenue this year, because you're getting the 6.5, you will be able to project the same 73 next year? Like, so in my mind, right, you've got expenditures of 73 million this year because you're getting 6.5 million from the state. Next year, you won't get 6.5 million from the state. What happens to the 73 million? You think now you'll be able to get 73 million in revenue to cover those expenses next year? I'm just fearful that we get walloped a year later with the massive tax increase rather than this year.
Right, no, absolutely. So a lot of what that 6.5 million covers are deferred charges that have already happened. So it's, in theory, wiping them clean. And also we had some cap issues that we had to deal with. And so Joe Sarno, he works for Holman, Frenny, and Allison. He's our consultant. He could talk to you a little bit more about those cap issues that we had. But no, I don't anticipate this hurting next year. I know what you mean, though, that a lot of towns had that problem with the COVID relief money, because that money came in, towns used it to support their operating budgets, and then when there was no more relief, they were like, oh, now what? So this is a little bit different than that, but I do understand what you're saying. I don't foresee that being a problem.
Okay, I guess that's it.
If anything, I see the revenues going down, and I see appropriations going down to sync with that. So sorry. So I see them both, and I'll introduce myself. I'm Joe Sarno. I work for the accounting firm of Holman, Frenny, and Allison. That is located in Lakewood. We do municipal auditing work, and we also do consulting work. We've been employed here with the township to assist the finance office and in the preparation of this budget. What you have, to answer your question, is, again, I see revenues going down and I see appropriations going down, right? Those deferred charges go away and the one-time revenues go away. They should go in sync, and I would say there's a very high probability that the overall size of the budget goes down from 73 million to something else. Also, think about transitional aid. You have the 2% cap. That was goes back to 2010 under Chris Christie. What that did is it said no budget can go over the 2%. It's called the levy cap increase. I think you guys are generally familiar with this. You've read about it. There are certain exceptions to that, but we were over the cap with all these deferred charges. We looked to the state and said we're not allowed lawfully to tax the residents, everything else that was here. That was ultimately what led us to go before the finance board and to apply for transitional aid. And they recognized the situation in South Brunswick and the moratorium and the revenue shortfall combined as being enough of an issue that we were able to be awarded transitional aid in the amount of $6.5 million. I hope that helps.
Hey, Mike, one other thing. One of the reasons the salaries were up, 2 years ago, we hired some new department heads that were partial years. Recreation was one of them. So then when they come in this year, it's a full salary.
Yeah, no, you just can't see, there's no.
That's what I'm saying.
Numbers, right?
What
That
you
might
said,
be helpful.
it just came to me that that's another reason why the salaries go up. It's
But
not, not everyone got a 15% raise. I mean, usually it's
No,
for
I'm
the
saying
side.
to sort of
Yeah, but just-
be a little helpful in the budget, right? Even if you don't have to say salaries, but headcount numbers in the department. So you could see that the headcount's the same or went down. You would know you're not just, doubling the workforce or anything like that. And a little bit more detail as to, what's the difference between salaries and benefits, so you would be able to
And
look at this a little bit better.
Both yourself, Mr. Howard-Gansky, and Mr. O'Sullivan have been longtime observers of the way municipal government has operated. Peggy Lee, she had that song, Manana, Soon Enough for Me. We'd rather eat or take our medicine today rather than put it off for tomorrow. Because nothing cures itself when you have to balance a budget. You can't just kick the can down the field. And so the budget picture is what it is, but it's a competent budget. There's no new hires, except for Ms. Naitri buying $1.2 million in paper clips.
Yeah.
And
No, it's fine. It's just,
Yeah, there's-
a little bit more clarity.
yeah.
What
No,
is-
That's what we're
Could
here
have
for.
figured this out without, coming.
you can email Ms. Rampacek
I
any
did.
old time.
I've done it.
She's
Yeah,
always
We've
available
chatted.
to you.
But unfortunately, this budget document, this is a state document that we follow.
Yeah.
Every single town uses this exact document. So we're not allowed to add any more detail into there. We are not allowed to put anything else besides, a lot of this is formulas and everything else we're inputting. So I understand it's very hard to read and I totally get that. So unfortunately, this is what we have to work with.
And it's PDF, so you can't even do formulas on it. You have to type stuff in your own Excel
Yeah.
spreadsheets. All right, thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public wishing to speak?
Seeing none, motion to close the public session on the budget.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Mayor, next on the agenda, we have a resolution to amend the 2024 introduced budget.
Motion to amend it.
I'll second.
And a roll call. Mr. Bierman?
Yes.
Mr. Camerata?
Yes.
Ms. Grover?
Yes.
Ms. Hockman?
Yes.
And Mr. Carley?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. And the next item on the agenda under Budget Matters is to adopt the 2024 municipal budget. Is there a motion to adopt the budget?
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call. Mr. Bierman?
Yes.
Mr. Camerata?
Yes.
Ms. Grover?
Yes.
Ms. Hockman?
Yes.
And Mr. Carley?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Next on the agenda, we have the minutes. If we can take the first set alone, it was for the regular meeting held on September 18th, 2024. Mr. Camerata was out. Is there a motion to accept those minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
And a second. And a roll call. Mr. Bierman?
Yes.
Mr. Camerata?
Abstain?
Ms. Grover?
Yes.
Ms. Hockman?
Yes.
And Mr. Carley?
Yes.
Thank you. The next two sets, if there's no objection, we can take those together. It was for the executive session held on October 2nd and the work session held on October 2nd. Is there a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved.
I'll second.
And a roll call. Mr. Bierman?
Yes.
Mr. Camerata?
Yes. Yes.
Ms. Grover?
Yes.
Ms. Hockman?
Yes.
And Mr. Carley?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Next on the agenda, we have reports. Mr. Bidlack?
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you, Samantha.
For the first time, you did very well.
So this,
Mr. Sarno, I didn't understand a word you said, but it sounded good.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. Happy to
Thank you.
Take care now.
Brian, don't take it personally that everyone's leaving
Thank you.
while you're giving your report.
Nice meeting you. Nice meeting you.
Thank you, Samantha.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Samantha.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
it's up to you. Okay. So this, just a couple things here. This Friday, October 18th at 1 o'clock, we will be having a ribbon cutting ceremony for the completion of the Freedom Trail Bikeway. This is the last leg of the Freedom Trail Bikeway. The last section was recently constructed from Stouts Lane to its terminus close to Route 1. Just as, as a reminder to everybody, and council certainly knows this, we were able to achieve this construction through a grant that we received from the state.
Yep.
So we were able to use those monies to complete that bikeway. In addition, the next coming 2 weeks, we will be holding our final two veteran street naming dedications. This Saturday, October 19th, we will be honoring U.S. Army veteran Robert Spar, who served during the Vietnam War. And this dedication will take place at the intersections of Ridge and Green Ridge Lane and Monmouth Junction at 11 a.m. And then our last dedication for the year will be on October 26th at 11 a.m. And this one will be in honor of U.S. Army veteran Gary Cooper, who also served during the Vietnam War. And this dedication will be at the intersections of Richford Litchford, and Constable Roads in Kendall Park. So, and Mr. Cooper, as many know, was the former commander at the American Legion post. So,
For many years.
for many years.
Yep.
He's my favorite Western actor.
Yeah, I said that.
That's all I have,
but
Mrs.
just again.
Thank you, Mr. Bidlack. So, Mayor, for myself, I wanted to give a brief report on the upcoming election. So as you all, I'm sure, are aware, we have Election Day coming up on November 5th. The polls are open from 6 a.m. until 8 p.m. However, if you're not aware, we also do have early voting, which is held at the Community Center on New Road. And that is held from October 26th through November 3rd. Anyone can go there and vote, so long as you're registered to vote. In addition to that, if anybody has a vote by mail ballot and you'd like to drop it off instead of putting it in the mail, you can do that here at the municipal building. We have a vote by mail box, not directly out at this door, but down the walkway a bit. And we have a second one also located at the community center. And that's my report, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Ms. Grover?
Thank you. So on October 5th, there was a ceremony done for the Veteran Street sign naming ceremony, which South Brunswick, actually out of respect, we name street names, which is already there, for our veterans. And this was done for Mr. Albert DeMotor. It was a very special ceremony at Wheeler and Tyndall Road. Then the same day, we had the Kingston Fire Department 100-year celebrations. We had a harvest festival in Woodlock Park, Kendall Park Fire Department open house, and on Sunday was the open house for the Monmouth Junction Fire Department, which was attended by all of us, my colleagues, and the manager, Brian. But Mr. Brian Bidlack. They were all very well attended by the residents and my colleagues. And then, and also, Senior Center is keeping me very busy. We have very good programs. I want people over 55 years old to join Senior Center and utilize the services we provide, actually.
I'm not just ready for that.
That's what I said. Sure. Couple more years.
And I have one information that on October 27th, the Senior Center and me and Joe, we are doing a trunk or treat for the kids, for the Senior Center members and their grandkids. So I encourage people to come and join us, and there'll be a lot of candies for them. And that's my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Camerata.
I could never even come close to topping that report, so ditto. A lot of things going on in the fall, always, and we try to attend all of them, and especially the Veteran Street name signings and the firehouse dedications. 100 years is a remarkable thing, and that's it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
I forgot one thing, Mayor.
We have a
Forgot one thing. I attended both the Garbas. The Garba performed by the Hindu associations, and it was very, very well attended and very well, managed. Thank you.
Okie dokie. Deputy
Yeah,
Mayor.
there's not much more I can add other than one thing. We also had the Right Choice Recovery Open House because they had an expansion on it. This is the third time they're expanding that. And they've expanded to lots of different things. One of them I found very interesting was gambling, which is running rampant here in the United States because of our cell phones. But that was well attended too, a nice event. And my colleagues Josephine and Ann were there also, and Mr. Bidlack. And thank you, Ann, for taking care of most of the job.
Thank you.
I have a short one for a change, but I'm on the Advisory Board of Health, and what I would like to say is that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and for all the women, please, and men, please go for a mammogram and make sure that you're doing
Examination.
pardon me?
examination.
Yes. self-examinations every week. It's best to do it in the shower. And you heard me doing my thing with the health department. Also, the Arts Commission, it has been so well attended. There are over 100 people on the first of every month, on the first Friday, attending the jazz festivals at the senior center. And you don't need to be a senior to go. They just, if you love jazz, bring some snacks, bring a beverage that you like to drink, and there are snacks available there also. But it's a fabulous date for a Friday night, listening to the most wonderful jazz imaginable. And sometimes there's, 5 players in the orchestra, and sometimes there's 3 people. But whoever it is, the feedback I've gotten is it was fabulous. It was fabulous. So avail yourselves to the jazz festivals. And that's all I have.
Great. Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Mayor. Next on the agenda, we have ordinances for first reading. There's one item on for tonight, which is ordinance number 2024-28. This is amending and supplementing Chapter 62, Land Use of the Code of the Township of South Brunswick, establishing a mandatory affordable housing set-aside. Is there a motion to introduce ordinance number 2024-28?
After 15 years.
No, this has nothing to do with that.
Well,
The state has, because it jumps around, if you do a major subdivision of 5 houses, one of them, 20% has to be affordable, and it has to be on the project site.
Right.
And so now we reflect the state law.
And 20%.
So this has nothing to do with Mr. O'Sullivan's.
But as I said, after 50, we started out with this about 15 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
These were the parameters. Now we go full circle. So with that said, certainly moving forward.
I'll second.
We have a motion, a second. Roll call. Mr. Bierman?
Yes.
Mr. Camerata?
Yes.
Ms. Grover?
Yes.
Ms. Hockman?
Yes.
And Mr. Carley?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Next on the agenda, we have ordinances for second reading. They're here for a public hearing and final adoption. There are 4 items. The first one is ordinance number 2024-22. Before we get started, I just wanted to mention there was a very, very minor, looks like a typographical error, but they wanted us to do an amendment on it, and it was in section 62-2575E, table and future precipitation change factors. On the 3rd column, they put 10-year instead of 100-year. So it looks like it was just a typo.
It's a design storm, yeah, it's a
Yep.
typo. It's
So-
not significant.
No, it's not significant at all, but they just want us to make that amendment. So after the public hearing, we'll make a motion to amend and then to adopt. Is there a motion then to open to the public on ordinance number 2024-22?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on ordinance number 2024-22?
Seeing none, motion to close the public session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Is there a motion then to make that amendment, as I said before, just more or less a typographical error to put 100-year on the 3rd column there?
I'll move that amendment.
I'll second it.
And a roll call. Mr. Bierman?
Yes.
Mr. Camerata?
Yes.
Ms. Grover?
Yes.
Ms. Hockman?
Yes.
And Mr. Carley?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there a motion then to finally adopt ordinance number 2024-22 as amended?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
And a roll call. Mr. Bierman?
Yes.
Mr. Camerata?
Yes.
Ms. Grover?
Yes.
Ms. Hockman?
Yes.
And Mr. Carley?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. The second ordinance here for public hearing and final adoption is number 2024-23. This is amending and supplementing Chapter 62, Land Use, Privately Owned Salt Storage of the Township Code of the Township of South Brunswick. Is there a motion to open to the public on ordinance number 2024-23?
Yes, motion made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on ordinance number 2024-23?
Seeing none, motion to close.
Should have done these.
Is there a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second it.
Mayor, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there a motion then to finally adopt ordinance number 2024-23?
Motion to adopt it.
Second.
And a roll call, Mr. Bierman?
Yes.
Mr. Camerata?
Yes.
Ms. Grover?
Yes.
Ms. Hockman?
Yes.
And Mr. Carly?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. The third ordinance here for second reading is 2024-25. This is amending and supplementing Chapter 114, Utilities of the Township Code of the Township of South Brunswick regarding equivalent residential units, ERU, charges. Is there a motion to open to the public on ordinance number 2024-25?
Motion to do so.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on ordinance number 2024-25?
Seeing none, motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries. Is there a motion then to finally adopt ordinance number 2024-25?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
And a roll call, Mr. Bierman?
Yes.
Mr. Camerata?
Yes.
Ms. Grover?
Yes.
Ms. Hockman?
Yes.
And Mr. Carly?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. The fourth and final ordinance here for second reading is number 2024-26. This is approving the application for long-term tax exemption and authorizing the execution of a financial agreement with AST South Brunswick Urban Renewal LLC concerning the property known as Block 98, lots 2.013 and 2.02, commonly known as 4315 U.S. Route 1 and Campus Drive. Is there a motion to open to the public on ordinance number 2024-26?
Motion open to the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on ordinance number 2024-26?
Seeing none, motion to close the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries. Is there a motion then to finally adopt ordinance number 2024-26?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
And a roll call, Mr. Bierman?
Yes.
Mr. Camerata?
Yes.
Ms. Grover?
Yes.
Ms. Hockman?
Yes.
And Mr. Carly?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Next on the agenda, we have a new business consent agenda. There are items number 1 through 8. Is there any item anyone would like pulled?
I would like to pull number 3, please.
Number 3, yes.
And number 4 and number 6, please.
Number 6. Okay. There's nothing else. If we can have a motion then to adopt items number 1, 2, 5, 7, and 8.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call, Mr. Bierman?
Yes.
Mr. Camerata?
Yes.
Ms. Grover?
Yes.
Ms. Hockman?
Yes.
And Mr. Carly?
Yes.
Okay, so the first item that was pulled is resolution declaring October 2024 as Hindu Heritage Month.
I'll do 4.
Yes.
That's fine.
I'll take that.
I'll do 5, 6.
Did you want to make a motion to adopt that resolution?
Yeah, she wants making a motion to adopt and read it into the record.
Okay. I'll make a motion to adopt it.
And I'll second.
And a roll call, Mr. Bierman?
Yes.
Mr. Camerata?
Yes.
Ms. Grover?
Yes.
Ms. Hockman?
So you want to read it?
And Mr. Carly?
Yeah. Do you
Yes.
want to read?
She's going to read it into the record.
There's a resolution declaring October 2024 as Hindu Heritage Month, whereas the Sanatan Dharma, also known as Hindu Dharam, is the third largest religion practiced in the world, with more than 1 billion devotees worldwide and 4 million in the United States, including many of the Township residents in South Brunswick, New Jersey. And whereas the Hindu Dharam have given birth to multiple other faiths, traditions with rich cultures and philosophies of their own, including Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism, collectively referred to as Sanatan Dharmic faiths. And whereas the followers of Sanatana Dharmic faiths collectively represent one of the world's oldest civilizations as well as one of the newest and fastest growing immigrant communities in the United States. And whereas the Hindu heritage with Sanatani culture, tradition, and Sanatani values have enriched our great state and city by providing invaluable solutions to many of life's problems, and often serves as a source of inspiration, reflection, and contemplation for the millions of individuals who look upon to the teachings of Hinduism for guidance. And whereas the Hindu heritage spreads the message of Vasudeva Kudumbakam, that means the world is one family, thereby emphasize the interconnectedness and unity of all people and nations, promoting a sense of global harmony, cooperation, and shared responsibility for the well-being of the planet and its inhabitants. Whereas the Hinduism demonstrates through a living enlightened civilization that global peace is achievable and sustainable. And this begins the individual peace and spiritual awakenings. And whereas during the month of October, the Hindu community in the township of South Brunswick, New Jersey, across our great nation and across the world, will collectively celebrate its heritage by focusing on its culture and the diverse spiritual traditions rooted in Bharat, and that is India. And whereas the Hindu community of the township of South Brunswick comes together to honor their shared heritage and spiritual traditions. And we recognize the many contributions the community has made to our beloved state. Now, therefore, be it resolved on this 16th day of October 2024 by the Mayor and the Township Council of South Brunswick, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, that from this date onwards, the month of October will be observed as Hindu Heritage Month. The Mayor and Township Council acknowledges the significant contributions made by residents of Hindu heritage of our town of South Brunswick, New Jersey, and by adoption of this resolution, seek to increase awareness, understanding, and appreciation of the Hindu American community, and urges all the citizens of South Brunswick, New Jersey, to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance. And that's all. Thank you. Thank you.
Easy peasy,
Thank
lemon
you.
squeezy. Kenny?
All right. It's just our custom to actually read the resolutions out loud. So with that being said, I want to move resolution number 4 forward.
And 6. Just do them together.
Recognizing Robert E. Spar for his service to our country. And then number 6 is recognizing Gary J. Cooper for his service to our country. Instead of taking the time to read both of them, both of these two gentlemen are going to get a street sign dedication, and then one this Saturday, one the following Saturday, for their contributions and service during wartime. Both of them pretty much during the Vietnam War. So with that, I'll move both forward, Madam Clerk. Save a little time for you.
I'll gladly second those.
We have a motion and a second on item number 4 and 6 on the consent agenda, and a roll call. Mr. Bierman?
Yes, thank
Mr.
you.
Camerata?
Yes.
Ms. Grover?
Yes.
Ms. Hockman?
Yes.
And Mr. Carley?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Next on the agenda, we have our second address from the floor. Is there a motion to open to the public?
Motion open to the public.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak?
Ahoy, ahoy.
Please state your name for the record.
Jitinder Kran, resident of South Brunswick. We hereby, the Hindu community, would like to extend a warmful thank you to each and every council member, as well as mayor and the administration, for announcing October as a Hindu Heritage Month. We have the community is from all walks of the town, be a doctor, be a police officer, be a teacher or professional. It's the harmony, it's the concept of keeping the families together, the community together, that brings us forward. So Vasudeva Kutumbakam means the whole entire world is one family. That's what the Hinduism and Sanatana Dharma believes upon. So we like to extend a thank you to all of you. Dhanyavad. Thank you.
Very well.
I'd like to request Archana Jyotsna ji to come forward, and she would like to say thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
And on behalf of the entire Hindu community, and of course the Hindu American Society of Central New Jersey, we warmly thank you, and we are very grateful to you for acknowledging October as a Hindu Heritage Month. Being a resident of South Brunswick, we have seen the diversity and we have seen the unity. And we appreciate that the township takes care of every religion, every faith here. And acknowledging October as a Hindu Heritage Month boosts the morale of the Sanatanis, of the Hindus living here in the community. And of course, we are here for the betterment of the community. We are here to contribute our efforts for the betterment of our township. So we appreciate your gesture. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Come on up. State your name for the record.
My name is Smita Raj, and I'm a resident of Princeton Walk, South Brunswick, New Jersey. Dear Mayor and the Council, thank you very much for the Hindu Heritage Month proclamation. This is a very important time of the year for us. Hindus will be we just celebrated Navratri, and Diwali is coming up. So this timing means everything to us. So thank you very much.
Our pleasure.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak?
This is Vijay Joshi. I'm a resident of Kendall Park, South Brunswick. Mr. Mayor and all the councilmen really appreciate the proclamation for Hindu Heritage Month as October. It means a lot for us. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak?
No, could be two more.
It's not a speech, it's a Hello. I'm Umesh Mahajan, resident of South Brunswick Township for last 21 years. And on behalf of Hindu American Society, would like to thank the Township and the Council for proclaiming October as a Hindu Heritage Month. And also I would like to further invite the Council for our upcoming Diwali celebration. And I believe the invitation is already in the email. Just wanted to acknowledge help and the support of the South Brunswick Township. Thank you.
What's the date, time, and where and when?
This is on this Saturday, October 19th, and on Route 1 and Cousins Lane. There's a New Brunswick Social Club. It's over there.
Route 1.
It's the old
Italian American
club. Yeah, the Italian club. Earlier it used to be. Now it's called New Brunswick
All Italians, Indians, it all starts with an I.
You're all family oriented. Thank you so much. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing no one, is there a motion to close the public portion?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Mayor, next on the agenda, we have the voucher list of October 16th, 2024. Is there a motion to accept that voucher list?
Motion to pay the bills.
I'll second.
And a roll call. Mr. Bierman?
Yes.
Mr. Camerata?
Yes.
Ms. Grover?
Yes.
Ms. Hockman?
Yes.
And Mr. Carley?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. And, looks like we have no executive session. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Let's do it.
Just
Second.
Oh, never mind. You were usurped.
We have a motion and a second, Ms. Hockman. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Everyone have a good night.
Thanks for coming out.
Good night. Thank you.
Oh, we might